It is the time of the year where as a nation we all reflect on the outgoing year 2020 and our good fortunes with Thanksgiving. As we appreciate and value your continued patronage, management and staff of Eswatini TV would like to take this opportunity to wish His Majesty King Mswati III, the Queen Mother in Indlovukazi, all Eswatini TV loyal viewers and our partners and stakeholders a Merry Christmas, a safe, healthy and a happy crossover into the new year. May the festive season and the new year be filled with peace and prosperity for all.
Good evening, you're watching Eswatini TV News Bulletin at 8, read to you by Notile Sitole. First, let's have a look at tonight's headlines.
His Majesty King Mswati III has dispatched the Incwala Regiment from the whole region to march from Buhleni Royal Residence to Ngabezweni Royal Residence. Her Majesty the Queen Mother continues to lead regiments in dancing the letter Incwala at Eswatini Royal Residence. The fuel situation in the country's big municipalities Mbabane and Manzini has improved.
And now the news in detail. His Majesty King Mswati III has dispatched the Incwala Regiment from the whole region to march from Buhleni Royal Residence to Ngabezweni Royal Residence. His Majesty instructed the regiment to follow COVID-19 safety precautions in order to stay safe from the pandemic.
Observing COVID-19 safety regulations could not diminish the pomp and splendor which characterized the dispatching of the Incwala Regiment, which was commissioned by His Majesty King Mswati III to embark on a trek from Buhleni Royal Residence all the way to Ngabezweni Royal Residence. His Majesty the King ensured total compliance with all safety protocols, and as a result, there were noticeable changes in this year's commissioning. To comply with regulations which call for avoidance of close contact settings and confined and enclosed spaces, His Majesty the King moved the event to an open space, which was the stadium located by the main entrance of the royal residence. The regiment was also trimmed in terms of numbers, as chiefs were instructed to select only 15 Tingaja per chiefdom. The regiment was further screened for COVID-19 before the commissioning by His Majesty the King. Everyone was required to wear a face mask, to sanitize hands, and to maintain physical distancing. Before dispatching the regiment, His Majesty led Emakhosikati, their Royal Highnesses Bantwa Benkosi, the Deputy Prime Minister and regiments in dancing, which was nothing short of colorful. The song and dance ended on a high note with the singing of Incwala Ngofula. The elated Ingaja sang the king's praises as Indvuna Mashashisa Kunene communicated His Majesty's message, ordering that they march respectfully to Engabezweni.
Incwala yalikhipha libutho nyalo liyawula emvuma umkhaya osikekela wathi kusasa Incwala ihlanganele libutho engabezweni Nilipele njoba ligaka Majaha Sihlangane nephi Lempi lesihlangane nayo Kuze sinqobe Asihloniphe lo mthetho Lesumtshela kodokotela Nangabe sowuthesitiwe sowugabela ibhandi la esandleni akudingeki ube sele uhamba uyaluka usuka la ebuthweni Uthe lotawungena kulelutho leselithesitiwe bese ligabe amabhandi lotawungena kulo uqala endlule kodokotela Nathi thina sesidlule kodokotela Asibeluse lebangakendluli kudokotela bangangene emcacansini wethu Nala siyawulala khona siyawulala njengoba sinjena Kuthe siyamvumela angene emcacansini wethu siyobe sesivumelele impi ukuthi sinqobe kuze sinqobe lemba sihloniphe sayinqoba ke lempi lesithumelele majaha Asalale nimthetho kodokotela majaha sayinqoba lempi Ulowo majaha
This marked the official start of the march to Ngabezweni Royal Residence. The regiment will camp at Mvuma Chiefdom under Prince Kekela as per His Majesty's directive. They will arrive at Ngabezweni Royal Residence on Tuesday afternoon. On the news, I'm Sandile Makanya reporting with Zole Masugu at Buhleni Royal Residence.
The Little Incwala continues under the COVID-19 regulations at Eswatini Royal Residence, whereby regiments are led by Her Majesty, the Queen Mother.
Regiments are still energetic in dancing the Liti Incwala at Eswatini royal residence, where they are led by Her Majesty the Queen Mother. This ceremony started at a very high note, and it is still continuing to be exercised under the COVID-19 regulations. Also present at Eswatini royal residence to dance the Liti Incwala were the Makusigati to His Majesty King Mswati III and the royal family and members of the cabinet. The Ingaja Regiment is now prepared to go pick Lusegwane following their testing and screening for COVID-19 by the Ministry of Health, as they are expected to be commissioned by His Majesty King Mswati III. On the news, I'm Pauline Mazia with Temba Mamba at Eswatini royal residence.
The Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade will continue to inspect businesses for COVID-19 compliance. The ministry's Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Director Mluleki Dlamini says last month's report indicates that countrywide, some businesses continue to flout COVID-19 regulations. We have a report.
Since COVID-19 outbreak, the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade set up a COVID-19 task teams which inspect COVID-19 regulation compliance nationwide. The task teams inspect compliance in the use of hand sanitizers, face masks, as well as if they observe social distancing in floor markings. The Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade, Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Director Mluleki Dlamini unpacks the November report and what it means.
We started off in the Manzini region where about 404 businesses were visited. And those that were not complying on hand sanitizers were about 74. Face mask 90 and 138 for social distancing. In the whole region, we visited a total of 384 businesses, and those that were non-compliant on hand sanitizers were 74. Social distance markings were 110. Face masks were 83. In the Shiselweni region, we visited a total of about 423 businesses. Those that were not compliant on hand sanitizers were 23. Social distance markings were 52, and face masks were 36. And also in the Lubombo region, those that were not compliant on hand sanitizers were 65, and social distance marking was 72. We would like to urge the public to work with us as government to curb the spread of the virus by adhering to the protocols. So we will be engaging other stakeholders to make sure that there are awareness campaigns to try and assist businesses to be compliant.
Dlamini says while inspecting businesses for COVID-19 compliance, the tax teams also found that more businesses continue to sell expired products. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, Mbabane.
The fuel situation in the country's big municipalities, Mbabane and Manzini, has improved. Journalists from Eswatini TV visited petrol stations to check if the situation has improved following yesterday's fuel shortage, which hit most parts of the country.
On Sunday, the Ministry of Natural Resources and Energy assured the nation that by Monday the fuel crisis will be sorted out in the country. We visited the Mandini and Babane city to check whether the situation has improved. In Mandini, petrol was available yesterday evening and in other stations during the early hours on Monday morning. The public in Mandini were grateful to government for rectifying the fuel issue.
Kuzothi ngibhaka umuntu mase empty vele kude ngaya khona ngoba basane kuyiba la utayishiya khona utayishiya utayithatha.
The petrol situation in Babane was also at the same state as the Mandini city. Petrol was available and fuel trucks were already delivering fuel to stations. Drivers in Babane also appreciated the government for solving the issue.
Petrol bekude khona but ke le garage la sethembisa ukuthi petrol utawufika salibeketelela sabambisana wafika petrol bashayela futhi noma petrol sowufikile ukuthi sowukhona petrol setha imisebenzi iyaqhubeka impilo iyaqhubeka.
When visiting petrol stations in both cities, only Puma stations had fuel shortage at that time. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Temalang Ndlamini with Mkonda in Babane.
People in the Shiselweni region are shattered by the passing of Dr. Vincent Mhlanga, who was the Shiselweni Regional Administrator. We spoke to the chairperson of the business community in the region, Justice Ngumalo, to find out how Dr. Mhlanga's passing has affected the region.
The people of Shiselweni are deeply saddened by the passing of the Shiselweni Regional Administrator, Dr. Vincent Mhlanga. Dr. Mhlanga is said to have had problems with his health and was receiving treatment at a hospital in South Africa when he passed on. The chairperson of the business community in Shiselweni, Justice Ngumalo, says they are still shattered about the regional administrator's sudden death and says Dr. Mhlanga was a good man who worked with truth and diligence.
Kangumuntu lo beka good listener mangathi phecelele ngesingisi. Bekalalela.
Dr. Mhlanga was a good listener and a great communicator. He led the region with passion and integrity. On behalf of the business community, we are in shock of the passing of our RA. He worked hard to improve the kingdom of Eswatini.
Dr. Vincent Mhlanga was appointed as the Shiselweni Regional Administrator on the 12th of April last year and answered to the Lord's call last week. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Temalang Ndlamini in Babane.
2 police officers will work and report monthly at the Matapa police station where they work. This is one of Mbongeni Dlamini and Nkosingphile Mkhonda's bail conditions. The 2 are out on bail for the theft of 22 dacha bags and 2 other counts.
The 2 police officers, Mbongeni Dlamini and Nkosingphile Mkhonda, have been granted bail by Judge Mzwandile Fagutse. As per norm, the court then ordered that they follow certain conditions. One of the conditions is that they surrender their passports or valid travel documents to the investigating officer. They are also ordered to report to the Matsapa police station every last Friday of the month. Of note is that the 2 officers are employed at the Matsapa police station. They are expected to report at the station between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. When opposing bail, the Crown said during the trial it will parade accomplice witnesses in the matter. The court ordered the duo to refrain from speaking, communicating, contacting, or interfering with prosecution witnesses in the case. The court has ordered that in the event they did not know their identities, same must be ascertained by them from the investigation officer. The accused persons are also ordered to remain within the borders of the country. The 2 accused were arrested last week for defeating or obstructing or attempting to defeat or obstruct the cause of justice. They also face a count of theft where they are suspected to have stolen 22 bags of dacha from Muzi Dlamini at Mojane. They also face a count of contravening the Pharmacy Act of 1929 in that they allegedly unlawfully shared 22 bags of dagga with Mxolisi Ncumalo, Thabiso Myeni and Sifiso Dlamini without being holders of a license or permit to deal by way of sale. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosi Mavimbela, Mbabane.
Thembi Mnisi, the mother to a 22-year-old man of Sikangeni area who was murdered on Saturday, says she witnessed her son being assaulted by a mob before he died. Thembi alleges that the mob told her to buy a coffin for her son, Mangoba Ncedo Dlamini, when it forcefully took her son from her home. Dlamini was allegedly forced to ingest a weevil tablet for suspicions of stock theft.
Thembi Mnisi's heart is still bleeding after witnessing the death of her son Mangoba Ncedo Dlamini, who was allegedly murdered by a mob at Sikangeni area on Saturday. Thembi says her son was forcefully taken from her home by a mob which alleged that he was involved in stock theft. The grieving mother refutes these allegations and says her son was no angel, but he was not involved in stock theft. Thembi says her son was allegedly assaulted from the moment he was taken from home, then tied to a pole and beaten with sticks. She claims to have seen a man fetching water from a nearby stream, and she suspects this was the point where her son was forced to ingest a weevil tablet. Her son was assaulted with another young man, Thembinkosi Mamba, whom Thembi alleges were taken into a forest. She narrates what she saw next.
What I heard was the cry of the two boys from a distance. Someone was following them from behind saying they should walk home, so they died closer to their relatives. I came across the other boy who was assaulted with my son and asked him where Ncedo was. I found Ncedo lying on the ground with his face swollen, and it was evident that he had been assaulted. I felt his arm for a pulse, but there was none. I also felt his feet, and they were cold.
Thembi says the law should take its course as his son deserves justice. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosi Mavimbela, Sikangeni.
Some Sikangeni residents have contributed money towards legal fees of suspects in the murder of a 22-year-old man of that area who was allegedly forced by a mob to ingest a weevil tablet. The deceased was allegedly made to ingest the deadly tablet together with another who survived and is still in hospital. Sikangeni headman Phazamisa Mhlanga says the community came together to contribute the legal costs because the suspects did not commit, or rather, the alleged offense on purpose, but they acted so out of anger.
On Saturday, a 22-year-old man and a friend of his of Sikangeni were attacked by a mob. The 22-year-old man died while his friend was still in hospital at the time of compiling this report. Eswatini TV News reporters went to Sikangeni area where they found the community gathered. The chiefdom's headman, Phazamisa Mhlanga, says the purpose of the meeting was to inform residents about the incident that happened on Saturday.
We are here with residents to mourn the passing of a community member. The suspects in the matter were not sent by anyone, but they acted impulsively. We are also here to plead for peace and ask residents to talk to young people about stock theft, which is a big issue in the community. We also noted that sheep bins are another source that creates problems we have as a community.
Mhlanga says the chiefdom had not instructed any person to murder or harm anyone. He says the community, however, decided to come together to contribute towards legal fees of those who have been arrested for suspicions of committing the crime.
They said they should contribute what they can because nothing will change what has already happened. The contributions will go towards the arrested individuals' legal fees.
Police say 5 people have been arrested for the incident so far, and they are expected to appear in court tomorrow, being Tuesday. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosi Mavimbela, Sikangeni.
Moving outside of the country now, President Cyril Ramaphosa has announced that South Africa will move from level 1 COVID-19 alert to alert level 3 with effect from midnight. Ramaphosa says this has been necessitated by the increase in the number of COVID-19 deaths and as the country battles the COVID-19 second wave of infections. President Ramaphosa is currently addressing South Africans. Good evening once again. Now we'll take a look at our sports news. Eswatini Sports and Recreational Council Chief Executive Officer Darius Lomo says 2021 is expected to be a better year for different sporting codes compared to 2020. Lomo is encouraging those who have been given permission by the government to proceed with their activities to keep on following different regulations of the coronavirus pandemic. Lomo revealed this when speaking to Eswatini TV News in Mbabane.
2020 saw majority of the local sporting association failing to be active due to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic.
We had to make certain adjustments somewhere of Kudlala Sports Sabo in a more safer way.
Eswatini Sports Council Chief Executive Officer Darius Lomo says associations who were already given permission should keep on following different regulations of the pandemic. Lomo challenged them to keep on introducing different innovations that has been brought in some of the associations such as golf and chess.
We've seen a lot of innovation, chess, and a host of other associations. As they resumed, even now, low risk, never middle risk.
Lomo concluded urging those who have not been permitted to proceed with the activities to remain inactive until they are granted to do so. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Mbabane.
Vice President of COSATA, an organization that heads Taekwondo within the SADC region, Zakhele Dlamini, says Taekwondo has been accepted to be part of the Region 5 Games. Dlamini, who is the president of the Taekwondo Association in the country, says Eswatini played a major role in assisting Region 5 to approve the sport in Eswatini. Dlamini revealed this when speaking to Eswatini TV News in Mbabane.
Region 5 games are hosted in different countries within the SADC region as different sporting codes are played competitively. In the past, Taekwondo sport has not been amongst the sports that are played at the Region 5 games. Zakhele Dlamini, who is the vice president of the Taekwondo sports within the SADC region, says the sport has now been approved to be part of the games.
Solo pusha Region 5. Region 5 was requiring us to have...
Dlamini, who is also the Eswatini Taekwondo Association president, says the Kingdom of Eswatini played a major role in seeing that happening following the success of COSATA Games hosted by the Kingdom of Eswatini in 2019.
Going to be part of Region 5 kusukela kulo mnyaka nje sisusa.
The Region 5 Games were supposed to take place in December this year in Lesotho, but were postponed to next year, December, due to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Mbabane.
That's all for now. Before we conclude, here's a relook at our top stories.
His Majesty King Mswati III has dispatched the Ingaja Regiment from the whole region to march from Buhleni Rural Residence to Ngabezweni Rural Residence. Her Majesty the Queen Mother continues to lead regiments in dancing the letter Incwala at Eswatini Rural Residence. The fuel situation in the country's big municipalities Mbabane and Manzini has improved.
That sums up our bulletin for the evening. Up next is the weather update from myself and the team here at Eswatini TV. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.